All right, let's talk about something that could fundamentally change the way AI is built and who controls it. We're going to explore a new frontier, a big idea that challenges the current state of things, decentralizing AI.
Right now, the future of AI, it's pretty much being decided by a handful of giant corporations. They've got the data, they've got the computing power, and they're the ones steering the ship.
But what if that's not the only option? What if we could chart a different course, one that's more open, more collaborative, and where that immense power isn't all in one place?
To really get why we need an alternative, we first have to understand the problems with the current setup. You could think of it as AI's walled garden. And living inside these walls is starting to cause some serious friction.
And these challenges, they're all tangled together. See, when you centralize massive amounts of data, you create huge privacy risks. That concentration of power then leads to governance issues, a tiny group of people making huge decisions for all of us. Naturally, that creates conflicts over who should get paid for our data, and all of this ultimately stifles innovation, because it's just too hard for new ideas to break through. The system is definitely feeling the strain.
So, what's the alternative? Let's dive into a radically different vision for the future and introduce the core idea of decentralized AI.
This really shows the fundamental shift we're talking about. On the left, you've got the old way, controlled by a few big institutions, which concentrates power and limits who can play. But on the right, the decentralized model is all about self-organized collaboration. The whole point is to democratize access and finally break down those data silos that are holding back progress everywhere, from medicine to finance.
So what is decentralized AI exactly? Well, at its core, it's a system that lets different people and organizations work together, sharing things like data or computing power without needing some big company in the middle to manage everything. It's about collaboration without a central gatekeeper.
This chart lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got decentralized systems like blockchain. They're great at being distributed, but they're not exactly intelligent. On the other side, you have today's huge AI models, unbelievably smart, but completely centralized. The sweet spot, the goal, is right there in the third bar. Decentralized AI. It aims to combine the raw intelligence of modern AI with the open, distributed power of decentralization. Best of both worlds.
Okay, so that's the what. But the big question is, how? How on earth do you actually build something like this? Well, the paper we're digging into proposes a framework built on 5 key pillars. Think of it as a roadmap to this decentralized future.
And here they are. It all kicks off with privacy. Then you have to make sure the system is verifiable. After that, you need the right incentives to get people to join in, a way to orchestrate everything, and finally, a killer user experience, or crowd UX. And I gotta say, I love these less names they came up with. They really get to the point, creating a system that's breachless, trustless, brokerless, coordinatorless, and frictionless by removing all the usual middlemen.
Let's start with number 1, privacy. This is all about creating a breachless future. The idea is to unlock the value hidden in really sensitive data. Think medical records, using tech that can mathematically promise privacy without ever having to show the raw information to anyone.
Next up, verifiability. In a decentralized world, you're working with people you don't know, maybe even anonymously, so you can't just take their word for it. You need to build a trustless system where any contribution, whether it's data or computing time, can be proven with cryptography. It's how you protect the whole network from people trying to cheat the system.
Pillar 3 is all about incentives. Look, if you want people in organizations to chip in with their valuable resources, you've got to make it worth their while. This pillar is about building a brokerless economy, one with fair and open rules that reward sharing, instead of the current model where a central data broker takes all the profit.
And this brings us to a really tricky, almost paradoxical question. How do you figure out what a piece of data is worth so you can pay its owner if the privacy rules mean you can never actually look at it? The owner wants to get paid first, but the buyer needs to know if it's any good before paying. Cracking this puzzle is absolutely essential for any of this to work. Pillar 4 is orchestration. In a lot of current systems, like federated learning, you still have a central server telling everyone what to do. A truly decentralized system has to be coordinator-less. It needs to let potentially thousands of different users and models organize themselves and work together without a director calling all the shots. So what does that look like in the real world? Let's take healthcare again. Imagine you have different groups of patients with different kinds of data. A smart routing system could automatically find and connect patients with similar data, letting them form their own little learning groups.
The network literally organizes itself to get better results, no central manager required.
And that brings us to the fifth and final pillar, crowd UX, or user experience. Because, let's be honest, all of this amazing, complex technology is totally useless if no one can figure out how to use it. This is all about creating a frictionless experience that makes the whole system feel simple and intuitive for everybody, not just for the tech experts.
The source material uses a fantastic analogy here, a navigation app on your phone. It hides an insane amount of complexity, satellites, traffic data, algorithms, behind a super simple interface. Crowd UX is meant to do the exact same thing for decentralized AI, turning a sea of overwhelming technical choices into a simple, easy journey.
Okay, so we've got the framework, the 5 pillars. Now let's get real about the path forward. It's time to weigh the incredible opportunities against the new risks that this whole decentralized world creates.
The potential impact here is just huge, especially in certain industries. Think about healthcare, finance, or supply chains. These fields are naturally fragmented because of competition and privacy rules. Decentralized AI could be the key to unlocking amazing collaboration, allowing for things like better disease prediction or smarter logistics, all while keeping sensitive data safe.
But, and this is a really big but, it's not a magic fix. While decentralization solves a lot of old problems, it also introduces some grand new ones. Things like a lack of traceability, the potential for weird economic incentives, and the very real risk that the whole system just centralizes all over again around new powerful players.
Let's dig into those for a second. Without a central authority, a lack of traceability means if an AI makes a bad call, it's almost impossible to figure out who's to blame. Then there are perverse incentives. What if paying people for data actually kills the kind of free, goodwill contributions that built things like Wikipedia? And finally, the ultimate irony, the risk of re-centralization, where new gatekeepers just pop up and we're right back where we started.
All of this makes it crystal clear that decentralized AI is far from a solved problem. The source really wraps up with a big call to action for researchers, basically saying, okay, we have the blueprint, now we need to go out and build each of these 5 pillars, from new privacy tech and verification methods to smarter incentives and the coordination protocols to make it all run smoothly behind a simple interface.
Which leaves us with this final crucial question. The future probably isn't a battle where one system completely wins. It's more about finding the right balance. So how do we combine the very best parts of both the centralized and the decentralized worlds to build an AI future that's more innovative, more responsible, and ultimately fairer for all of us?